Let's talk about Hombre and what we can learn from it. Make your hero the villain, just for a minute. John Russell, the character played by Paul Newman, aka Hombre, in both movie and novel comes off as uncaring, objective in his estimation of every situation to the point of cruelty. This is a subversion of the mythic hero whom the novel sets up, the hyper-competent stoic who rides in from the wilds to break the teeth of the wicked. This subversion on Elmore Leonard's part helps give dimension to our secondary characters, like Dr. Favor. The novel wastes no time in setting up Favor as unlikable, then outright villainous. But for a moment, it forces the reader to ask, doesn't Favor have a point? Is John Russell so overzealous that he sweeps back around into villainy? I'm being a little vague on the plot details on purpose. Those familiar with the story will understand from recollection, but I hope my review will not dissuade you from revisiting Hombre or picking it up for the first time. I want you to experience this story because it's very good. By making John Russell so callous, Elmore Leonard also makes the racism of the ensemble cast a more palatable flaw. These people are wrong, but they have genuine gripes too. They're bigoted, but do they deserve almost certain death? John Russell is hardened, maybe for good reason, but he's still a jerk. Of course, Leonard is trying to make a point about the complicit or explicit involvement all of the wagon goers share in the mistreatment of the Native Americans on the San Carlos Reservation, but I believe the argument he establishes stands. Now let's talk about what I believe is the movie's greatest failing, and that is erasing the McLaren girl and making her instead Jessie. The film undermines the foil that Elmore Leonard creates for his main character by making this character Jessie, the caretaker of John Russell's white father's boarding house, rather than the McLaren girl, who is a rescued prisoner of the Apaches. In the novel, Leonard sets up the McLaren girl as a better foil because she has implicitly experienced an equal cruelty to what John Russell watched his people live through in San Carlos. Yet the two emerge from their traumatic pasts quite differently. She is goodness, and he is omnipotence. The McLaren girl's ability to turn the other cheek, contrasted with John Russell's painfully objective view of justice, are great foils, two sides of the same coin, and that coin is Christ. Ultimately, the McLaren girl wins the moral battle, convincing John to rescue one he viewed previously as undeserving of salvation. The genius bit and what gives Leonard's novel a tragic bite is that he doesn't forget that they are mortal people, even though he sets them both up as two sides of a Christ figure. There's no rising on the third day for John Russell when he walks down that mining track to save an undeserving sinner. There's only crucifixion. John Russell begins the story as an arbiter of unfettered justice, and maybe vengeance. He ends by combining that refusal to let evil win with also doing what is good, not fair. The result of the climax is not the point. Rather, it's how the tragedy arrives to this point, and where it leaves those affected, that makes the story great. So, how do writers adopt Elmore Leonard's characterization? I think the first step is to make your characters feel human. That's incredibly vague, so let's dive into it. That means giving them flaws, even if those flaws are justified by their past. In fact, their flaws should be justified by their past. Otherwise, you tread into foundationless grimdark. A foil can be another useful tool as well. If you're going to write a foil for a character, ask yourself what I'll call the Leonard questions. If I put these two characters together, what do I get? Who rubs off on whom within the plot beats of my story? And what are the consequences of that change? So those are my thoughts on Elmore Leonard's Hombre. It's one of the greatest Western novels and one of the greatest Western movies of all time. I highly recommend that you go check out both if you've never done so, and you should go revisit them if you haven't been in that story for a while. So, until next time, keep reading.